BRP Teresa Magbanwa planned to go to Sabina or Escoda Shoal this Saturday morning. But when the Chinese vessels monitored the movement of BRP Teresa Magbanwa, there were more Chinese ships around. This Chinese Coast Guard vessel, 5205 from another place, immediately arrived at Escoda Shoal. In the video, you can see the dangerous maneuver against the PCG vessel, which resulted in a direct hit to the port bow of the ship. After a few minutes, the Chinese Coast Guard vessel turned around and hit the starboard quarter of the Philippine ship. It turned around again and returned, and hit the port beam of BRP Teresa Magbanwa. It is important for us to take note that this ramming happened despite our unprovoked action and presence in Escoda Shoal. The Philippine Coast Guard vessel did not provoke or do anything while we were loitering around Escoda Shoal, but the Chinese Coast Guard carried out dangerous maneuvers despite being unprovoked. There was damage to different parts of the ship. It also had a hole, but there is no estimate of how big the damage was to the vessel. Fortunately, no one was hurt among the crew of BRP Teresa Magbanwa. Before 3 p.m., BRP Teresa Magbanwa anchored at Sabina Shoal. This is the fifth incident of Chinese harassment in Sabina Shoal since August 19th. The PCG vessel did not retreat from Sabina Shoal to monitor the movement of China in the area. This is the commitment of the commander to the president, that despite the harassment and bullying activities and escalatory action of the Chinese Coast Guard, the moving Coast Guard vessel Teresa Magbanwa, or any other replacement of the vessel, there will be no reason for us to withdraw our Coast Guard vessels there. The National Maritime Council, or NMC, announced their concerns about China's actions. Well, the position of our government, especially the National Maritime Council, we take this with serious concern. That's why, from the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have issued statements to the Chinese Embassy and the Embassy of the Philippines. We take this with serious concern with the acts of the Chinese Ombudsman. Meanwhile, China blamed the Philippines and said that the Philippine ship was the one that hit their ship. It also denied that the Philippines withdrew BRP Teresa Magbanwa there. Breaking news. America entered Sabina Shoal. The US Navy flew a reconnaissance aircraft to search for information in the area. China is angry because no matter what they do, America doesn't listen to them. China wants the Philippines to let go of the WEST PHILIPPINE SEA. And what the Philippines is doing in this area is wrong, according to China. Even the development of the Philippines' defense capabilities, China wants them to follow. China called on the Philippines to withdraw the US mid-range missile system that is deployed in the country. Location of one of the BrahMos missiles was mentioned in the Congress, that it is located near and in front of the West Philippine Sea. Taiwan has a statement against China and said that the Philippines supports it. Department of National Defense Secretary mentioned one by one the projects given by the budget under the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program, Horizon 2. America patrolled Sabina Shoal, and China is very angry when it saw an airplane of the US Navy in the Philippine waters. China warned several times that America should not know, but it did not ignore. This is because it is important for America to show the Philippines the importance of their alliance. An American maritime patrol and reconnaissance aircraft is going around Sabina Shoal. China wants the Philippines to follow, but they will not allow it. After the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff, General Browner Jr., will also take the Philippines of the mid-range capability missile system. China got angry. China is not the only target for the Philippine Navy to remove from the Escoda Shoal. China warned again that the Philippines should remove the American missile system from the western part of the country. According to the Chinese Foreign Minister, the retention of the US mid-range capability missile system in the Philippines is causing tension and will damage the stability and peace in the region. Regarding the US deployment of the Chinese in the Philippines, China has repeatedly expressed clear opposition. The US and the Philippines provoke regional confrontation, increase the tension in the region, damage the peace and stability of the region to arouse the country's high alertness and concern. The US and the Philippines should realize the real purpose of the US, respond to the common concern of the region, and do not sacrifice your own security for the sake of the US. As promised, remove the Chinese missile system as soon as possible. China is pushing the deployment of the US mid-range capability missile system in the Philippines because of its capability that can hit the Philippines without being noticed. According to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the US mid-range capability missile system in the Philippines is needed. In other news, the location where a BrahMos missile was placed and was fired, possibly near the West Philippine Sea, was mentioned and discussed in the budget of the Department of Defense. Let's go to Japan. That has a problem with China. Japan is changing the military strategy through the latest technological advancements. New and never-before-seen weapons are being built by the country to strengthen Tokyo's military capability, even to strengthen its position in the region. This may not be considered a big news in other countries, but for Japan, this is massive news. Why? The answer to this question does not need to be related to the intelligence of the new weapons. However, Japan has been known for a long time when it comes to innovation, especially in technology. Many countries in the world have been recognized for their success. The difference in the quality of these new weapons is related to the origin of these. After the collapse of World War II, Japan was almost entirely responsible for peace. This is also related to Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution, which denies the right to join the war and prohibits the existence of land, sea, and air forces. But World War II has long passed, and there are new threats to be faced. These threats pushed Japan to reinterpret Article 9 of the Constitution in 2015, in which the country was forced to use its right to collective defense. But Japan did not stop there. By the end of 2022, Japan officially strengthened a new national security strategy, which aims to strengthen the ability of the country to counter-strike in order to avoid the attack of the enemy. This is what brought us 5 new weapons which can change the power balance in East Asia. But what are these weapons, and how can these help Japan to have a different effect on the region? These are some of the questions that this video needs to answer. Before discussing these, it is important to answer a few more questions in order to explain the huge change in Japan's defense posture. First, why did this change happen? What pushed Japan to move to a more aggressive security strategy? Based on the title of this video, you can guess one of the reasons for Japan's decision: China. Japan has repeatedly taught that Japan and China are their best allies as the heaviest strategic challenge. But believe it or not, China's actions are not the reason for Japan's new military policy. No matter what, this is not the main reason. In fact, the real reason is Russia. And this is not about the Kuril Islands between Russia and Japan. This has something to do with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. You might be wondering, how did a war that was more than 5,000 miles away from Japan end up in military decisions? It's simple. Let us explain by a retired general from the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force, Toshimichi Nagawa, in his own words. The war in Ukraine showed us the importance of being able to continue a battle, and this is something that Japan is not ready to do. He also added that if it's like a game, Japan is 200 meters away from a 400-meter sprint. The war in Ukraine changed Japan's view about what a potential military conflict could look like in the region. Now, it's clear that this is not an easy or a clean war. This new knowledge pushed Japan to doubt its trust in the current security environment and military equipment. One thing that made Japan not ready to defend its sovereignty using the current military supplies. That's why there are 2 choices. First, buy the missing weapons, or second, steal them. In the history of Japan, when it comes to technological advancements, it's not surprising that the second option is more promising. By choosing the DOTP, Japan could get all the necessary equipment to win a long battle in the next 5 years, and if there's a word, it's China. There's a reason why Japan was so scared by the war between Russia and Ukraine. The situation is close to their home. How? The answer is one word: Taiwan. Japan has long had tensions between Japan and China in the East China Sea. Even so, these tensions reached their peak when Japan declared that it will support the United States in defending the sovereignty and freedom of Taiwan against China. Since then, Japan has been helping Taiwan in many areas, including national defense and security, trade, and industrial transformation. As expected, China is not happy with a military buildup in the Pacific. It's not surprising that China's military is just sitting idle. The People's Liberation Army is conducting military drills in the East China Sea by using missiles. It's noteworthy that China is one of the countries that has more weapons than North Korea. Apart from China's military, the rapid development of nuclear and missile developments of North Korea is another reason for Japan's concern. The Japan Defense White Paper announced in 2023 how bad is the threat of North Korea, where it was referred to as a security threat that is even bigger than before. According to the document, Japan believes that North Korea can attack the country using its nuclear weapons attached to ballistic missiles. It wasn't hard for the document to reach this conclusion. After all, the loss of ballistic missiles by North Korea to the sea in the eastern part of the country happens to point in the direction of Japan. Of course, it's considered by North Korea as a test launch, but it's just a small thing compared to Japan's control. What is Japan doing about this? Is it strengthening their military budget? In 2023, the Ministry of Defense of Japan asked for a record-high defense budget for 2024, reaching $52.9 billion. The most notable requests in this budget are the following: $2.6 billion for a pair of Aegis system-equipped vessels that will further strengthen Japan's ability in defense against ballistic missiles, $1.2 billion for the construction of a new type of frigates, $739.3 million for the purchase of 8 F-35A, an American Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II fighter, $862.3 million for the purchase of 7 F-35B short takeoff and vertical landing fighters, $83 million for the construction of 8 Mitsubishi F-2 multi-role fighters, $561 million for the purchase of fighting vehicles and tanks, and $215.4 million for the purchase of 28 wheeled armored personnel carriers. In a deep analysis of this list, you may notice two things. First, the biggest individual requests have to do with strengthening the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, or JMSDF, the Navy of Japan. Second, the naval capabilities of the country is the main aspect that Japan chooses to make the production 100% instead of importing the necessary weapons. Because the biggest threat to Japan is China and North Korea are the main ones when it comes to the sea. This strategic decision, Japan has a primary goal to have a big effect on their naval force. That's the reason why the 5 new weapons of Japan discussed in this video is related to strengthening the naval capabilities of the country. All the details of these weapons are stated in the defense budget request that we discussed earlier. So let's talk about the 5 new weapons that will definitely make the Japanese enemies sweat. The first is a combat support Multipurpose Unmanned Surface Vessel USB. That's a lot of words, so let's go through what each word means. Like its name, the Unmanned Surface Vessel does not require a person on board. Instead, it can be controlled from far away by the autonomy, or in the case of this ship, both. You heard it right. This new vehicle can be controlled from a control facility on land through satellite communications. The first option is commonly used if the weather is bad. How many problems the remote control system can experience. This also happens if this system is broken. It will be possible by using artificial intelligence and machine learning that should strengthen the ship's ability to make decisions as well as its overall performance. The name of this ship, Multipurpose, is self-explanatory. This ship can carry out various missions including reconnaissance, surveillance, and combat. When it comes to the last mentioned, the technology is expected to be able to fight enemy ships and submarines. However, there is a very important information that is missing here. The actions of this ship are primarily to support the manned vessels of Japan. That is why it is called Combat Support Vessel. While the manned vessel is advancing, it can share operational data and other important information. It's unmanned support to other USVs that have a purpose to coordinate their activities. This ship is very smart, isn't it? It can also replace its smart USVs depending on the mission. For combat, it can use sensors to target enemy ships and missiles as well as torpedoes to fight them. If the situation becomes dangerous, this ship can avoid enemies' attacks by diving into the water. We are talking about a hybrid, a half-surface, half-underwater vessel. When it comes to physical strength, it is expected that this stealthy USV will reach 100 feet in length and will have a displacement of around 200 tons. It will use electric propulsion and fuel cells for its operation that makes it stronger and quieter compared to traditional diesel-powered vessels. There is another question that needs to be answered. When will this USV be ready for action? Not in the near future, like the other 4 weapons. According to the plan, a survey should be conducted about this ship from 2024 to 2026, and from 2027 to 2030. As for the actual use, it is not yet known how many exactly. However, because the Japanese MOD believes that this ship will be of great help in improving the survivability of Japan's naval force in the future, there is no time to waste. The next one is another unmanned weapon, but this time we will talk about the Unmanned Amphibious Vehicle of Japan, or UAV. Note that this vehicle is like a package deal. It was designed to support the Manned Assault Amphibious Vehicle, or AAV, that is currently being built by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. If you are not familiar with the military industry of Japan, you might be wondering what Mitsubishi does that is known to vehicles and electronics in the defense sector. In fact, Mitsubishi has a long history in this industry that many Japanese do not know. Many of the weapons mentioned in this video, even the unmentioned ones, are built by this engineering giant. But let's go back to the AAV. The AAV is a fully tracked vehicle that can travel on land and water and can carry up to 21 soldiers, 2 and 3 crew members. The primary purpose of this vehicle is to allow the soldiers of Japan to deploy quickly from ships to the villages during amphibious assault operations. However, there is one obstacle in the land that is held by the enemy, or in this case, usually, the islands are easy to reach. The soldiers will be able to experience different challenges, and the hostile fire will be the most dangerous. Usually, the traditional AAVs use their speed to reduce the time spent in dangerous places. Japan's defense budget has seen a significant increase in recent years. With regional tensions rising, the government has allocated more resources to bolster its military capabilities. This shift marks a departure from Japan's post-World War II pacifist stance, reflecting the changing dynamics of global security. In response to evolving threats, Japan has invested in cutting-edge technology to modernize its arsenal. The introduction of advanced missile systems, stealth fighters, and cyber defense mechanisms showcases Japan's commitment to maintaining a robust defense posture. These new weapons are designed to provide a strategic edge in both conventional and asymmetric warfare scenarios. One of the most notable additions to Japan's defense lineup is the Combat Support Multipurpose Unmanned Surface Vessel. This innovative platform enhances maritime security by performing a variety of tasks, from surveillance to mine countermeasures. Its autonomous capabilities allow for extended operational periods without the need for a human crew, thereby reducing risk and increasing efficiency. Another groundbreaking development is the Unmanned Amphibious Vehicle. This versatile machine is capable of conducting operations on both land and sea, making it an invaluable asset for coastal defense and rapid response scenarios. Equipped with advanced sensors and communication systems, it can navigate challenging environments and provide real-time intelligence to command units. The integration of such technologies underscores Japan's strategic focus on enhancing its defense infrastructure. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.